Hi everyone, Simon Jacobson here for another episode of Meaningful Live. How to do the high holidays like a pro. This program is dedicated in honor of the birthday of Julie Gnevish. Happy birthday. Those of us that have grown up in environments, in homes, religious homes, that attended Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur services in a very intense way, are very accustomed and very familiar with all the traditions, the prayers, the services. That doesn't necessarily mean it's more relevant, it just means it's something you just do. Some do it out of guilt, some do it out of tradition, some do it out of superstition, making a deal with God, New Year. In general, especially in the United States, in the Western world, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is in the consciousness of most Jews. Not all, but many. And people go to synagogue expecting either nothing or expecting a lot. But it's an ultimate paradox, because on one hand, we're told these are the high holidays, the holy days that are meant to change your life. But let's be honest, how many people can say that after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur, their lives have been changed? Like many people tell me, yeah, we go in with the same expectations, and every year it's the same story. For many, it's very mechanical, done by rote. For some, it's actually very negative and even bittersweet type of experiences. Many people have experienced religious trauma or religious irrelevance or religious abuse. So we're dealing here with a real paradox. I grew up in a traditional Jewish home, in a Hasidic home. I went to synagogue, and Rosh Hashanah and Kippur were serious days. But to be very frank, it took time till I discovered its deeper spiritual meaning. And when I did, it was eye-opening. It was transformative. And I find that this paradox to be a real problem, because most people I meet, I would say almost all, will say it never lives up to its billing. You know, these special days, some people have warm and nice experiences. They may hear a nice sermon, may be inspired, but lasting transformative effect. I remember last year a couple telling me they took their children to synagogue, and the children, all they did was sit with their phones, and they were texting, social media, watching a movie, sports, and other stuff that they do anywhere. They just sat there. That's how they killed the time. They said, how could we inspire our children with something that we ourselves are not really that inspired by? So I want to address this very directly and head on, without mincing words, without any gloves. So it's going to be as blunt as it gets. You know, there's a statistic that always strikes me, that over 90% of Americans believe in some form of God and spirituality and soul. But only 40% associate with a religion. Now that's a big discrepancy. The reason is very simple, because when it comes to religion and God in that context, a religious context, most people associate, and I'll just give the free association, knee-jerk reaction when you hear the word religion. We'll start with the mild associations, the ones that are more innocuous, things like tradition, family, community, synagogue or house of worship, clergy, prayer, ritual, charity. These are the words that you usually hear. Holidays. It gets a little more edgy when you watch a Woody Allen movie, or you've experienced some of the more, we'll call it mediocre or even negative aspects. So then religion is associated with neurosis, fear, anger, punishment, punitiveness, judgmentalism, condescension, conformity. I mean, these are not words that necessarily evoke anything that makes you excited. So this is what you're dealing with. When it comes to spirituality, on the other hand, here are the words that it evokes. Spirituality, free spirit, transcendence, music, soul, love, stuff like that, which, of course, is a very different experience. Can these two come together? And unfortunately, for many, it does not. And if you need an acute time of the year where this is pronounced, that's the high holiday season. Now, I know I've been talking a lot here about the problem, We want to talk, of course, solutions. So I want to introduce another way of looking at it. And for that, I do ask you to at least put aside, short term, put aside some of the preconceived notions we may have, some of the prejudices, the biases, even if they're legitimate, meaning legitimate experiences. And let's look at it with a fresh set of eyes. Now, of course, I'm talking about these holidays, so I can't really conceal the terms being used. We spoke of Rosh Hashanah. But here's how I would put it. Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, not just a day of judgment, not just a day of accountability, it's a day of purpose. This is the birthday of the human race, the birthday of every one of us as individuals. And the one most important question you ask yourself on Rosh Hashanah is, why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? What is my calling? What is the indispensable mission I was given to transform my corner of the world and make it a better place than it was before I arrived? What is unique about my voice, my song? In the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes in The Voiceless, alas to those that die with their song still inside them. No, I don't want to die with my song still inside me. What is my unique song? In the words of the Bible, where God says to Adam, where are you? Ayeka in Hebrew. Where are you? I don't recognize you. You've betrayed yourself. You've betrayed me. You've betrayed your purpose. So Rosh Hashanah is a calling. It's a wake-up call. Where do you stand with your life? The sound of the shofar is that wake-up call. It's a primal sound that touches the deepest part of your soul. You think of it that way, it changes the whole perspective. It's a day when our contract is renewed. Yes, our divine contract, our partnership with the transcendent. Our contract is renewed. And when we are renewing a contract, accountability is very much part of life. Who do you hold accountable? Not people that you don't respect, not people that you think are incapacitated or handicapped. You hold accountable people that you trust, that you have confidence in. That's part of relationship. Trust is not built on perfection. It's built on accountability. So Rosh Hashanah is a day of accountability. Here's a day, a new year begins. What have we done with our lives? Have I fulfilled my purpose? Has my life been driven by personal pleasure, by making money, by impermanent or instant gratification? Or is it driven by some higher calling? That's what Rosh Hashanah is, higher calling. And there's accountability when it comes to that. And that's the vote of confidence. So instead of many people who tell me they experience Rosh Hashanah is a day that I tremble. Is God going to kill me? Is he going to write me in the book of life? Is he going to inscribe me in the book of life or in the book of death? I have to make a deal with God. It comes down to a very juvenile, childish experience fraught with superstition, fraught with all the guilt and the negativity of being punished, instead of saying, no, this is a day of dignity, a day of responsibility, a day of your calling, your birthday. That this is a day of vote of confidence in you and what you're capable of doing, and how you're going to live up to it. And like any accountability, when you finish the end of a tax year or a financial year of your business, what do? You evaluate. You take stock. Introspection, soul searching. How have we done? Where can we improve? What mistakes did we make? What can we do to make it better? That's the healthy way of growing. And then you determine how you do make it better. That's the Rosh Hashanah experience. That's uplifting. It's empowering. We teach that to our children, and this is the way you do it. And the prayers and the customs and the traditions, those are the tools. Those are the methods. But one thing you're looking for, Ayeko, where are you? Where do you stand? What's your calling in life? That's Rosh Hashanah. And indeed, when you look into the mystics, what do they write about Rosh Hashanah? Beautiful. It's so poetic. That right before Rosh Hashanah, before the new year, the entire existence goes into a comatose state. And essentially the creative energy that energizes existence recedes. Just like electricity recedes back into its source, anxiously anticipating the renewal of its contract, the renewal of energy. And a new energy, unprecedented in all of time, enters into the cosmos, enters into our lives to help us experience true and total renewal. Renewal is one of the most greatest blessings in life. Tell me, how many of us suffer from the monotony, the routine, the drudge, the rut, going back through the same grind of life. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Oh, I'm trapped in the past. Every time I try something new, always gravitate back. The inertia of life. Renewal means that you are pumping, you're pulsating with new energy. And Rosh Hashanah, that energy bursts forth.